Hello, welcome back to the Bar Gym Reviews. Today we're going to be testing two of the more popular belt squat belts that are on the market. So we're going to be looking at the Spud Inc. Pillow Belt and, well, the Rogue Multi Belt. Both are promised to be kind of top tier when it comes to performance, but also maybe comfort as well. But they kind of do it in different ways. So I've been training with both, and in this video, we're going to be comparing comfort, adjustability, maybe the build quality, versatility, and value of both of these belts. And you'll make sure you want to stick around to find out which ones I am going to keep in my home gym. All right, so let's start with comfort because that's usually what makes or breaks any kind of belt, especially a squat belt. So with the Spud Inc. pillow belt, it really does live up to the name of being a pillow, right? It is soft, it's very flexible, comfortable, pretty much for every single kind of rep. And the material that kind of wraps naturally around your hips, it doesn't really pinch or dig in even under really heavy loads. Now, when it comes to the Rogue Multi Belt, it's surprisingly comfortable too. However, it is thicker, it is a little more rigid, but it does have a thicker padding as far as the foam goes. Okay. Now, and it does have a little bit of like a mesh material here that makes it a little bit more breathable feeling. So if you're going to do like a really high volume training set or you don't take this off in between sets, that could be a positive. But overall, both belts are excellent in general. With comfort, though, the pillow belt is just a little bit softer, a little bit more forgiving. And I thought that this had a slight edge over this one and not, a huge lead. However, when you feel them compared side by side, pillow belt is definitely softer. And then I even asked my wife, who also trained with both belts, and she really just doesn't enjoy the Rogue multi belt as much. It feels like it digs in just a little bit on the quads and into the groin area. And I would agree that these dig in just a little bit more on that Rogue multi belt than this. So comfortability is going to go to Spud Inc. on this one. All right, so next let's talk about adjustability because a proper fit does make a huge difference, especially when you start belt squatting on using, maybe you have multiple people using this. So for the Spud Inc. pillow belt, it's a 7-loop system. They're spaced approximately 2 inches apart, and that gives you a lot of flexibility for different body types and belt squat setup. So let's say you want to go really, really low, you should be able to put that up pretty high, but also if you're just doing the top of the movement, or maybe you're just doing some walks or marches, that could work too. Whereas the Rogue multi-belt is a little bit bigger in range of 44 to 60 inches. It does adjust pretty quick, but it also has a system down here, but they use D-rings instead. Now, there are not 7. There's 5 adjustments instead of 7, so a little bit less on the adjustability. Overall, though, they both have a lot of adjustability. I will say for the 2 different loop systems here, so one being, the D handle or the D rings here, and one being, that stitched material, it is a little more difficult to get the carabiner in and out of this compared to the rings because it's metal and it just clips in really quick. So I will say that's a little bit of an annoyance here. However, just having a few more adjustability options, I will give a slight edge to this just because there are more options for more lifters. So slight edge here to the Spud Inc. All right, so next, let's talk about build quality. Now, I think both belts have a high level of quality to them. The Spud Inc. specifically, the materials are pretty flexible, but they're also durable, and they seem like they're going to be rugged enough for heavy lift over many years. So they have reinforced stitching and loops that make it reliable for that high volume training and training under a large load. Now, with the Rogue multi-belt, it has a little bit more of a structured field with like a thicker reinforced foam frame, I feel like is going to hold its shape over time just a little bit better than the Spud ink. So, in short, Spud ink leans towards, being a little bit more flexible and comfortable with a little bit more forgiveness, while the belt squat, the Rogue multi-belt squat here, is structured and it's very refined, high quality material that I feel like just over time is going to hold up just a little bit more just because of how dense it is. I feel like maybe the elasticity of this one could hurt it in the end. However, on short-term use, they're both very durable. Overall, though, I'm going to give the edge slightly to the Rogue multi-belt. All right, so versatility is what I want to talk about next because, yes, they're both belt squats, but also both belts can work for other weighted movements like weighted dips, pull-ups, chin-ups. And I really like both of them for this. Now, I will say, I think the pillow belt from Spud Inc., as you can see with the stitched loops here, they're a little bit more pliable and easier to get through. And I'll be honest with you, so I don't have a loading pin per se that I will do the dips on. And you can try to maneuver these rings through. But what I like to do, and I'll show you a video of it, but with the Spud Ink ones, I can just loop those loops. I'll put them through an actual weighted plate. So I could do that with a 30, a 45, a 25, maybe even a 10 if I wanted to do macro loading. And I can load up and I can still put those on there and I can do it for my dips specifically, or if you were into weighted pull-ups maybe. So just a reminder that these are, yes, belt squat belts. However, you could use them for other things. And there are, with Rogue, they definitely sell like dedicated dip belts, but this works just as good. It's a little bit more cumbersome to set up, but if you have a loading pin, it's a little bit easier. But with the Spud Ink, you don't need a loading pin. So for versatility, I am going to say both of them are versatile, but I'm going to give a slight edge to the Spud Ink pillow belt for the versatility. All right, so now let's talk price. Price is always important to mention here. So I will say that the Rogue multi-belt does come in at $95, so just under $100. But mine was included with my Rhino Belt Squat trainer. So just so you know, I did not have to buy this one. It came with my Rhino Belt Squat trainer, although I did buy that with my own money. The Spud Ink pillow belt, this comes in at $119, and then there is a price increase for the larger sizes. So overall, yes, Rogue is cheaper, but it is often bundled with machines like a belt squat as well. But of course, you could buy it separately. So in terms of pure dollar amount here, well, obviously the Rogue is going to win because of the price, but also because it does come with the belt squat trainer. At least it did when I purchased it. All right, so here's my final take after using both belts. The Spud Ink pillow belt is extremely comfortable. It's soft, it's forgiving, it's flexible, and honestly, I just feel like when it's under a really heavy load, or maybe even for a longer session, it just wins the comfortability overall. The Rogue multi-belt, also still comfortable, still does the job. It's a little bit more structured. I feel like maybe over time it lasts a little bit better, and it just has a little bit more structure. And since it came with my belt squat, with my Rhino Belt Squat trainer, I probably would never have purchased this if it wasn't from some influences from other people. So overall, if you already have this belt and it comes with your belt squat trainer, I do not think it's worth the extra $120 to buy the Spud Ink. However, if you truly value comfort overall and how you really want to feel in the squat, Spud Ink might be the way to go. Now that I both have them here, honestly, I'm going to pick the Spud Ink pillow belt. So just for full transparency, I did pay for this out of pocket. So this is a completely independent review. Spud Ink did not contact me or give me any kind of affiliates or anything like that. So if you want to support the channel, check out my affiliate links for the companies that I do work with. This helps me create content at no extra cost to you. And if you're already going to go buy something from Rep or my new established relationship with Temple of Gains or Barbell Rescue, or any of those companies that I really, really enjoy, Fed Fitness, you might as well just use the affiliate codes, right? So those will help me get more gear like this, along with maybe even other belts for my belt squat. Like I was told to buy the Cloud 9 belt. So please comment in the video if there's a preference that you have. How great is that Cloud 9 belt, maybe? And maybe we'll get that in here at the Bar Gym Reviews. So if you like what we're doing here, you don't have to buy just from the affiliate links. You could always like, you could always comment, and you could always subscribe to the channel. That'll obviously help us. So do all those things. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you guys next time.